So welcome to my next video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about something that I know you're probably curious about. And it's actually something that I've been curious about too before. It's why start a YouTube channel? Like, why post content, you know? Why talk about whatever I'm talking about, whatever you want to talk about? And for me to explain this, I'm going to need to get into a little bit about my story. Now, the thing is that I also realize, and this is something that you should learn, nobody cares about your story, and nobody cares about mine. And the reason why they don't is because we're just selfish by psychology. If you look into human psychology, how people think, most people think about themselves all the time, and that's okay. So if you're out there trying to just talk about your story, and you wish, you just want people to just hear your story, whatever, unless there's something they're going to learn from it, they don't care. So even with me, I know nobody cares about my story, but at the same time, because I'm going to use it to explain why either you should start a YouTube channel or why even I started a YouTube channel, if you're curious about it, then I'm going to explain about it. So yeah, basically, of course you can tell I'm a little young, as of right now, when I'm making this video, and I basically grew up in Tanzania, and then came to America when I was 19. And during that time in my growing, I can remember since when I was 14 maybe. And what I remember is one of my favorite memories in my childhood was me spending time with my dad, and I would go to his job where he works, and it took me a while to realize that my dad is an entrepreneur. And it's funny because, for some reason, I just knew, growing up, I'll call my dad anytime. He would come pick me up, take us somewhere, whatever. And to me, it didn't make sense, because I know, other parents were, doing the thing where they're going to work, staying there from, let's say, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And for me, it was different. And for me, too, when someone asked me what my dad did, I kind of didn't, it wasn't the typical answer that everyone gives. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that because one of the biggest things I'm actually very grateful for is that I was able to see that and experience that. And just because of that, it got me more prepared to becoming an adult. And one of the biggest mistakes I see people do when they have kids, they do when they are raising their children, is thinking that, I'm not gonna tell my children about how money's going. I'm not gonna show them about work. They don't need to worry about that because they're kids. But the thing is, they're gonna grow up anyways. So you might as well start preparing them early. For me, when I have a child, I don't have one yet, but when I have one, they're gonna be working, and they're gonna start working maybe 14. I don't know, something, but they're gonna start doing something, because at the end of the day, one of the biggest fears that I've seen a lot of parents have is, and this is something that I know I'll probably have too, I don't want to, if I have a child, and if you already have a child, you're probably thinking this, you probably don't want to pass away knowing that your child cannot sustain themselves. So if that's the case, why not teach them your way so they can learn it? And if they want to deviate, they can do it, but at least you've equipped them to do the things they want to do. Now, of course, I'm going to stop talking about that because I don't have a child. So anyways, so I grew up doing that. I remember I was kind of like my dad's secretary. Well, sending money, seeing, going to site after site, going for lunch or whatever. But anyways, I came to America, and I had that mindset of just work hard, work hard, work hard. And when you work hard, one day you just get a nice job and get paid enough. And I remember to this day, because my first job when I first came to America, if you watch all my other videos, you've seen that I work at a car wash. And by car wash, I don't mean automatic, because for some reason people think most of the car washes in America are the ones that you go and the car just, takes you in and washes by itself. And the people that are working there are just kind of helping you go in. The car wash I worked was a hand car wash, where we were scrubbing, doing everything. And I started working there. When I first came, that was my first job that it took me 3 months to get. And I remember working there the first year. I was getting paid, started getting paid $6 an hour. And I was one of the hardest workers there. Came in on time every day. I did not take any days off because that's how I survived. I was using the money that I was making to pay my rent and pay my school fees, and then bring my brothers and all that stuff. And I remember working the first year. I'm like, man, I'm like the reliable. I'm doing everything. I'm hard working. And I remember after a year, I go talk to the owner, and he's still friends with me to this day, and he taught me a lot of things. So there's no hate. It's something that I just learned. And I went and told him, hey, can I get a raise? And he told me, man, it's hard because there's labor and all this and all that. But yeah, I understand you're the hardest worker here. But I'll give you, like 50 cents raise. And in my head, I'm like, 50 cents? Like, you're telling me after a whole year, I'm getting paid 50 cents more? I was so mad. But I kept on working because I was like, I can't get anything else. And this is one of the limitations that I had myself, where I was like, okay, well, I'm just an immigrant, and who I worked with was all immigrants. So I was like, you know what? This is all the jobs that immigrants work. But it's the thing, and this is one of the things that I'm gonna talk about stress today, is one of the reasons why people are stuck anywhere is not because you lack access. Because that's what I thought. I thought I lacked access. I thought, oh my God, if I was American, I could work anywhere, get this, get that. But then at the same time, so what I did, then I stayed in the area where I was like, this is all I can have. But then later I came to realize that all I really lacked was awareness. Because the person I am now today is a person that had the same paperwork that I had when I first came. But then the thing is, now I don't work at a car wash for $6 an hour. But what changed? What changed was that I just was aware of other opportunities. So wherever you are, if you're in Tanzania, if you're in whatever, if you accept that you lack access to something, you'll be surprised where you, like, you know what? You won't even be surprised. You'll just be there where you are, and you will be there for a while until you learn that you actually lacked awareness. And you can even look back at some of the things you have now. You can ask yourself, did you get some sort of access for you to be able to move up to something else? Like, one of the things I used to tell myself was like, yeah, if I had a green card, I'll be here. If I had an American citizen, I'll be here. But the thing is, that is not true. Sure, you can get something that can give you access to something, but if you don't have the awareness, it doesn't matter what access you have. So anyways, I remember, fast forward 2 years later, I was like, man, this is crazy. I'm not going to be doing this because I'm working 72 hours a week. And then, remember, working at the car wash, if it rains, you don't make money. So when I look at, I used to live by the weather app. I look at the weather app, I see it's going to rain this whole week. I'm like, man, how am I going to pay rent? I'm going to have to figure out something. So now, quickly, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try and see if I can get something else. But in the meantime, I'm going to try again and ask for a raise. So this time I go and ask for a raise, and this time I'm frustrated. Because I'm like, man, I just put 2 years of my life here. And I'm working hard. And you know me, I'm consistent, I'm disciplined, all that. And then he told me, hey, you know what, I'll make you a deal. I'll give you a raise. And at that time, I was kind of like the manager, but without the title. So I was kind of doing the manager roles without getting paid for that. So I was like, man, I was really frustrated. So I was like, hey, you gonna give me something or what? So he told me, you know what, let's make a deal. I'll give you another 50 cents now, and then every 3 months I'll give you 25 cents extra, the more you work. And I'm like, man, that's crazy. So that means literally at the end of the year it will be an extra $1. And I'm like, I am not doing this. I almost cussed. But anyways, I am not doing this. So what did? I quit. And this is a funny thing that I also realized, and it's something that I'm also going to teach you. So there's how do you call it? There's something in chemistry I learned. It's called a catalyst. So someone who went to school and learned chemistry, and this is not me trying to be smart, this is me trying to explain something. So what a catalyst is something that speeds up a reaction or slows down a reaction. And one of the things in our regular lives, in chemistry you have chemicals that you can use to make the reaction go faster or slower or whatever. Now in life, there's also the same thing. If you are looking to improve in a certain aspect of your life, sometimes you're gonna have some sort of catalytic substance to use to move things faster or slower. Now there are a couple types of catalysts that you can have in your life. One of them is chaos. Chaos, what does chaos mean? Disorder. So sometimes you might be in a situation where things just happen and you don't have any control over them. And that would create a situation for you to make sure to find a way to like speed up something. Like an example. I'm going to give you an example. So an example is, let's say you're working somewhere and then boom, that place closed down. And then suddenly now you start thinking about ways to get another job and get more money, whatever. And then turns out that was the best thing that happened to your life, because after that place closing down, which was out of your control, you were able to go and find something even better. So that's one, right? A second one is self-inflicted. Self-inflicted catalysts, this is where you go and make something happen that would force you to speed up the process of you getting to something else. What's an example? You quitting a job. If you really fed up with something and you going to quit, or you going to make a decision to say, I'm not doing this anymore. And then after that, your brain starts wondering, how am I going to make it happen? And then you find out that that was the best thing you ever did, because after that, you figured out a way to go and make things happen. So sometimes, and this is one of my favorite ones to have, because you can take all the credit with this one. With chaos, you can't, because it wasn't under control. This one, you can take all the credit. And this is where you push yourself out of your comfort zone and going out there and doing something. Now, I don't advise you to do this. It's not for everyone, because some people can do it and survive, and some people that could turn out being one of the worst decisions they've ever made. But if you are actually a type of person that they call these people self-starters, these are people that come out the gate and make decisions that will make them go in an uncomfortable position, but then after being in that uncomfortable position, they can get out there and do something for themselves. So that's the second one. The third one is where someone else does it. Now this is also my favorite one. Now by someone, most of the time, these are people like coaches, trainers, people who sometimes people would pay to do that for them, or mentors, people who would help push you out of your comfort zone. And this is like one of my favorite ones to have too, because one of the sayings I've always heard is that if you are told to do something, most of the time if it's free, you will not take it serious. But if you paid for it, there's a bigger chance you will take it serious, because you put your money where your mouth is. So basically, if you are looking to get out of something that you're doing, you're in the comfort zone and you want to get out, remember there's these three things that can happen. Now with chaos, you got to wait for this to happen to you. So sometimes if it's not going to happen, you can wait for a long time till it happens. So you might be lucky and something could happen before, and you might not be. So if you're not, then this could be I just don't like waiting so that you can be uncomfortable and then you can grow. Because when you're uncomfortable is where you grow. So, and then self-inflicted. Now this one is something you can do yourself. If you're seeing yourself in an area where you don't like the result, and you know it's because you're comfortable in something, you can go and do something that is gonna force you to be uncomfortable. And then the third one is someone else. This is where you can pay someone to do that for you. And so anyways, I kind of went off track. Anyways, so let's go back to, for me, so I quit my job. So that was a self-inflicted catalyst that I created for myself, and I went and started finding something else. I went and started working in the factory. I did not like that. Factory work, I did that for like maybe a month, and I was like, you know what, nah. Now here's where one of the most important things, which we'll talk about why I did YouTube, is gonna come in. I get a call from my, the boss of the car wash, and he told me, hey, can you come back I'll pay you more. Let's talk, whatever. Cool. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll come back. And here's the reason why he gave me a call back. Something called personal brand. Personal brand. Personal brand, the definition, I don't know if you ever heard of Vusi Thembakwaya. He talks about personal brand being, it's basically what people say when you're not there. And this is something it would take a while for you to build, but you can lose it like super quick like that. So, when you have a good personal brand, you can be able to be somewhere else and your personal brand could be working for you. Because when your name is in a room and no one is there and you know that people are going to say good things about it, like that's like the ultimate peace of mind. So basically I got a call back because my personal brand was good. I left in good terms. I told him I was leaving and I told him why I was leaving. And, you know, all good ways, like, hey, you know, I just don't get it, whatever. And I left. And then I got a call back, say, hey, come back. He offered me $12 an hour. But then he told me, you'll be my manager. And this will come back to the biggest lesson that you learned today. And when he offered me to become a manager, I'm like, so I'm getting paid twice now. And all I'm doing is just managing people. Now, for some reason, it didn't click at that time. And it didn't click because I didn't understand the levels of value. So if you've seen my other videos, you probably know this. If you haven't, then good for you because you're going to see this. So there's 4 levels of value. And value meaning what's valuable to people. So if you're making money, it's because you're giving something of value to somebody else. And they're giving you money that they think that money is worth more than the value you're giving them. It's worth less than the value you're giving them. If I told you, here's $1, give me $1, we'll do that all day. It won't matter. If I told you, hey, give me $1, I'll give you $10, you take that all day. You want to do that all the time. And that's the same way with value. If you're going to work somewhere and they're giving you money, it's because they know that your work is worth way more than the money they give you. That's why they're happy to give you that money. So if you want to make more money, you just got to find something that's more valuable. Now, with the 4 levels of value, the first one, the lowest, is implementation. And with implementation, you use your muscles over time to make money. Now this is the thing, one of the biggest things I had to learn is that money is not physical. Money is spiritual. What does that mean? I'm going to write it down. Money is spiritual. What does that mean? Money is spiritual means that the reason why I can give you a note for $1, if I give you a note for $1 or a note for $10 or $100, the reason why it's worth that much is because it says so. And the reason why it's also a spiritual thing is because money can exist in physical form, it can exist in your phone as you're looking at it, it can exist so many ways and it will be the same value. The reason why human beings are different from animals is because we have language, we can communicate. And since we can communicate, communication is a spiritual thing, it's not a physical thing. So if you're trying to make money with implementation, which means you're using your muscles, like I was working in a car wash, washing cars, getting tired, just running, doing everything. And then doing that for 10 hours a day, there's only a certain amount of money that I can make. Because at the end of the day, what I'm doing is not as valuable as something else. Like if you look at hotels, people who are working the hardest are people who are in there cleaning the rooms. Making sure everything's good, like doing the thing. It's just how it is. If you don't like it, fine. It's just how it is. So I was in implementation. I was making $6 an hour, and then I go work. The second level of value is unification. What does this mean? This is where you use your management skills to make money. Someone who their job is to manage people, make sure people are performing something to make something better and efficient for the bosses, is going to make more than the person doing the thing. It's more valuable to a boss or to an owner of a business to have someone who manages the people than it is for people just doing the thing. So, and as an example for me, I went from making 6 to 12. I literally doubled what I was making just by doing by doing something else. Now here's something else I'm going to also talk about. How you can be a person that can do that, and I said be for a reason, because it's not about doing. For you to become a manager, you don't have to do more. You just have to become more. What does that mean? So from the difference between me washing the cars all the time to me managing people washing the cars was that I just had to become a person who is a leader. Who is a person who is a leader? Person of integrity. You say what you do what you say, and you say what you do. And people can follow. If a leader isn't a person that's also improving themselves, people will not follow you. Being a person that has empathy, you can see people and understand where you can fit them and be aware of how people work. That's not, like, for you to become a manager doesn't mean that you're going to go out there and just be the hardest worker in the team. Yes, that's a good trait to have, but being a manager is not about doing the thing. It's about becoming someone else, becoming a person that people can follow. And that's more important than doing the thing. Third thing, this is where money is made. So the third level value is communication. So communication is where you make money using your mouth. And when you make money using your mouth, you can make so much more. And considering, and here's what you realize. The more you go up, the less hard the work is. Like, I was sweating every day doing this, and then I was sweating less. Now I was going home dry, because I used to be coming home wet, socks, feet tired, because I'm standing all day. Here, it's a little different. And then here, it's even like to the point where you start gaining weight and all that type of stuff, because it's now you not even doing physical stuff anymore like that, unless you want to. And with communication, this becomes now the reason why I'm doing YouTube. And this is why content. Now, communication is where you use your mouth to make money. Now, here's a caveat. You got to learn how to use your mouth. But basically what you're doing is you can communicate something of value to somebody, and that person can see the value in it because you've actually been aware and taken consideration and concentrated on what they want and give them what they want, and they'll give you money. And it's the easiest thing ever. But then it's easy. You know what? Let me change that. It's simple. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. It's simple because all you got to do is just learn how to use your mouth and find something that's valuable to somebody and give it to them. And then they'll give you money in exchange. Now, I'll talk to you later about where's the money coming from and all that stuff. So, and then, but I'll just finish up the highest level of value is imagination, where you use your brain to imagine an idea, and the funny thing is when you get to this level, and sometimes even when you get to this level, but the higher you go to, the more you end up using all these levels of value sometimes, and then you create something even huge. But the highest one is imagination, where you imagine an idea and you do this and you communicate it to people, and you unify some people, and then people implement, and then boom, you got money. And that's how businesses start. If you have a business, it's because you imagined that business and you communicated that business to a bunch of people, and then you unified some people together for that business or that company, and then you have people who implement the thing that you've created, and then boom, you got money. So anyways, back to YouTube. So now with YouTube, it's because here's another thing that, man, I'm just giving out gems. See, here's another thing. One of the easiest ways for you to learn something is by doing it. There's a lot of people that have different ways of learning stuff. There's people who learn it by seeing it, people who learn it by doing it. You have people who learn by maybe someone showing it to them or doing it with them. But then by far the easiest one is actually doing it. Because at the end of the day, we were born in this world without knowing anything. We came into this world without knowing how to talk, how to walk, how to drive a car, how to watch TV, all that stuff. But we figured it out. Why? And we figured it out because we did it. A kid learns how to walk by seeing someone do it, but then at the end of the day, they actually walk and do it. And one of the biggest things that people mistake is the real reason for learning. In school, the system is just messed up because you go in class, you have a class of math, you have a class of English, you have a class for chemistry and Swahili, whatever it is, and you just have a class, and this is how we used to in my school, where you have this class going on, then that class is over, then you got the bell ringing, then it's the next class, then it's the next class, then the next class. Then at the end of the year, you do an exam with the things that you just crammed, and then you try and just vomit that in a paper, and then someone can grade you. But the real reason how life works, the real reason people learn is to master. Because when you master, then you don't need to use your energy, what does mastery mean? Mastery means you can do that thing that you mastered. The reason why someone can do something that they mastered is that they don't need to think about it while doing it. I can tie my shoelaces I can do while thinking, like while just talking to somebody. I can wear my clothes while just talking because I've mastered it. So, me talking to a camera and people watching me is me looking to master using communication to learn how to talk to people and how to explain a concept and teach a concept in a way that it's going to help them and it's going to help me. This is a good thing too. We get to both learn. So while you're watching this, you're learning something, but I'm also learning something. I'm looking to master. In the future, I'll be talking somewhere without even having to prepare a speech, and I can just go there and just deliver a message that changes people's lives. And that's one of the main goals I have. I wouldn't say a goal. I'll just say something I'm looking to achieve. Right? Okay, so that is the real reason why I'm doing YouTube. And the good thing is you get to be in this journey while I'm doing this. And you get to learn some stuff while I'm doing this. Because one of the biggest reasons, too, I chose to talk about this, because someone's like, why are you always talking about money? But the thing is, this is what I was really focused on and something that I figured out. And I'm still figuring it out. So since I'm still figuring it out and I figured it out, I'm like, that's one thing I know. I'm not going to focus on something I don't know or I haven't paid attention to. I'm going to focus on what I'm good at. And that's one thing that you learn when you get into this level of value right here. When you're a manager and you're unifying people, you want to focus on their strengths. Because that's how you create a team that works in a really good harmony system. You have to focus on people. What are they good at? When you focus on what people are not good at, you'll see that's a recipe for disaster. And even in your life, if you're talking to yourself and you're always talking to yourself about what you're not good at, see how that goes. Focus on what you're good at. And for me, this is one of the things, and I'm just getting better. And since I'm getting better, I'm like, why not involve you in there? I think this is one of the longest videos I've ever done. But anyways, I'll just end it there, because I'll talk to you about more in my next videos. Thanks a lot.